Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey, this is Craig Garber. You know me as host of the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, but when I'm not interviewing world-class guitar players, I'm busy helping clients with their marketing. In fact, since March of 2000, I've helped over 300 clients in 108 different industries all over the world sell everything from $20 books to $5,000 seminar seats and everything in between. I even authored a book about my experience called How to Make Maximum Money with Minimum Customers. Now, if you own or operate a business, ask yourself the following marketing-related questions and be honest with your answers. Are you generating fresh new qualified leads on a daily basis? Is your website generating enough sales? And if not, do you know why? Is your advertising effective? Is it predictably and reliably making you several multiples of what you're spending on it? And lastly, are you consistently communicating with your email list? Or do you have an email list of prospects and customers, but you have no idea what to say to them, how often to say it, or how to make money with this list? If you need solutions for these marketing problems, then you need to book a one-on-one marketing strategy session with me. After this strategy session, you'll know how to speak to and make money with your email list, how to use your website to attract customers and clients who are ready to buy from you now, and how to sell your goods and services for top dollar and at much higher profit margins than your competition. Listen, stop hoping things will get better on their own. Hope is not a very good business strategy. Instead, book a marketing strategy session with me by going to everyonelovesguitar.com/marketing and find out if your business meets the 5 criteria you need to qualify for this service. Again, that's everyonelovesguitar.com/marketing. Thanks for listening. Now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. I've got a really cool dude, brilliant guitar player, an extremely successful session player who's been in Nashville a really long time. We're here with John Willis. John is from St. Martinville, Louisiana, and he can do Louisiana accents real good, I'll tell you right now. At 22, he moved out to L.A. to study Guitar Institute of Technology. After that, he moved to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, home of Fame Studios. And before long, he was playing sessions by day and club gigs at night. After paying his dues at Muscle Shoals for 8 years, John caught the attention of David Briggs, who is a world-renowned pianist and producer from Nashville. And David encouraged John to move down to Nashville. The following week, he did. Talk about taking action, man. I like that. And for the past 3 decades, almost 4 decades, John's guitar has been consistent on country and pop radio. He's got literally several hundred, maybe thousands of recording credits, but I'll give you a really quick Cliff Note summary. They include Kenny Chesney, Shania Twain, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, Luke Bryan, Taylor Swift, Florida Georgia Line, Rita Wilson, Willie Nelson, Gretchen Wilson, Blake Shelton, Alabama, Jewel, India.Arie, and more. And frequently nominated for various awards. In 2002, John was actually awarded with the Guitarist of the Year, which is a super prestigious award from the Academy of Country Music. John, thanks so much, man. I know you're busy. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I got to have somebody from St. Martinville. Before I pass, I said, I got to get someone from St. Martinville. So, man, let's talk about that. I looked it up after I got your bio, and the population today of St. Martinville is 6,000. So I cannot imagine how small it was back in the day when you were growing up. And then at 22, you split for L.A. I thought that was a pretty bold thing to do as far as adjustment goes.
Oh, it was a big culture shock, I can tell you.
What kind of adjustments did you have to make, and maybe talk about your experience out there?
Well, I loaded up a U-Haul, stuck all my junk in it, and moved out there. And I'd, really never been to a city anywhere near that size. And it was just total cultural immersion. Like, I guess the first week, you go to school and you read about all these guys, these incredible players like Joe Pass and Robin Ford and Carlton and all those guys, and I got to see them all. But in the first month, I probably saw 90% of my heroes.
Wow!
And it totally blew my mind. I mean, I'd never seen anybody. I was like 3 feet from Joe Pass, and I'd never seen anybody play like that. And it was like, oh my gosh, I have to do something. So I got on a pretty brutal schedule just to try and catch up to something, because I didn't have any of that. I didn't have any of that in my hands.
What I think that's what prompted you to go though? Like, that's a really bold move. What was your thought process? And I'm always curious as to what makes people successful. And I think whatever took you out there is one of the things that made you successful, or that makes you successful. What was going on?
I tell you what, as I was playing in band, and I'd gone to college for jazz guitar over in New Orleans at a school called Loyola. And it was very unfulfilling, to say the least. So I went there a semester, came back, and I was playing in this band, and I thought it was all right, and we were making good bread, because back then you could. And then I was at a music store, saw a Guitar Player magazine, bought it, and I was reading through it, and there was an article with Larry Carlton, and he was talking about doing sessions, and I was like, wait a minute. You don't have to play the same songs every night? Literally. I was just like, this is what I want to do. And, so then I subscribed to Guitar Player, and there was an article about GIT. And so I wrote to them, and they sent me a brochure. I'm looking at all this stuff. And I was like, man, I just need to do this. So I started saving money. I started finishing concrete. I was working all day, playing gigs, and saved up enough money to go, and just jumped.
What were you looking to get out of it? You wanted to get it. You wanted to learn what this mysterious session thing was. Yeah,
I was just like, I need some tools, because when we'd play songs, I just learned the solo that was on the record, and I was, that was good enough. But man, I'd hear solos by Pat Martino or Carlton or anybody like that, and I was just going, man, well, where does this stuff come from? And then GIT was like the only school I looked at. I was thinking about going to, I don't even know if Berkeley was around then, but there were a couple of colleges that had like guitar degrees, but they were all like classical guitar, and I wasn't really interested in that.
Right.
So when the GIT thing came up, and it was like a year, I thought, man, I can do anything for a year. And it looked, it looked cool. It looked like it would be something I could really get into. And thank God I went, because it changed my whole perspective on how to practice, everything about guitar.
Were there any students that you were there with that went on to become successful as well?
Yeah, well, Steve Lynch was in, I think he was 2 classes ahead of me. He played in a group called Autograph.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of people after. In my class, there's a guy named Al Bonham. He teaches at MI now. He's the country teacher, and we were really good friends. He kind of took me under his wing, because I knew nothing about the big city. He introduced me to black coffee and bagels.
There you go. What more do you need?
Yeah, and we jam and stuff, and he knew a lot of things, and he was very open with information, and a great guy, and still is a great guy. I see him maybe once or twice a year. He comes to Nashville. He'll come to, like, if I'm doing a session or something, he'll come and hang out. And it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Great guy.
Did you learn? You said you made a lot of changes there playing wise. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, I didn't really have a grasp on practicing. I knew there was stuff I had to learn, and I'd do what I could, but I didn't have an approach to it. And GIT basically gives you an approach. You pick what you want to learn, and then they kind of show you how to learn, which was what I needed. And just being around people who can play like that is just so inspiring. It was invaluable for me, for like inspiration and perspiration.
Kind of force you to up your game, being around people.
Oh,
like that.
God. Yeah. I walked in the first day, and all the teachers are up there, and they're playing, and I'm going, well, I'll never do that. That's impossible. And then, it was like either quit or get with it. So I just got with it.
Good for you, man. Then you finished GIT and you went back to Muscle Shoals. What made you do that as opposed to staying in LA, for example?
Well,
and having more of them good bagels and coffee.
And they were good. I pretty much was broke at the end of GIT.
Right.
I mean, I used up all the money I saved, and I borrowed a few thousand from, I guess my dad. And I thought, man, I don't really like reading all this much. If I stay in LA, I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to really have to practice reading. So I thought, I think I need to move to Nashville. So I moved back to Louisiana, got my gig back, and I started saving money to move to Nashville. And I guess, I don't know, a few months after I moved back, my brother, he was a songwriter at that time, he said, man, let's go to Muscle Shoals and you can play on my demos. He had like 5 songs. So I said, yeah, sure. I'd never really played a real session. So I went with him and we went to the studio called Wishbone. And one of the owners, his name's Clayton Ivey, he's a keyboard player, session guy, and a producer and all that stuff. And he heard me play, and on the first song, he said, hey, guitar player, could you play me a B7 with a flat 5? And I was, fresh out of school, bang. And he said, where's the flat 5th? So I hit it, and he says, oh, you got to move here. Literally, he said he was tired of giving guitar players lessons because he played a little guitar, but, he had a lot of chord knowledge, and most guys didn't.
Sure.
So I said, well, man, I don't know. And he said, yes, you need to move here. I said, well, he said, I'll teach you how to do, I'll use you on everything I do, and I'll teach you how to do sessions. And I went, okay, I'm moving next week. So packed my bags, moved, and, starved a little bit and played on some stuff. And then work started coming in, and it was great. I was doing what I wanted.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a buzz when you do sessions. I some people hate them, but a certain personality type. When you do a session and you play something and people go, "Oh yeah, that's it. That made the song." That's a pretty heavy high.
Well, you're playing in Fame, man, or down. You're playing in. There's some serious cats there, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was, it was scary. First time I worked for Barry Beckett, literally my hands were shaking.
I heard a story about him from Mike Durham, I believe. You know Mike, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he said he had a sign outside his door. and I'll never forget. I hear it talk. I've talked to 200 people, so I don't remember much. But I do remember a little bit here and there, and that's something I'll never forget. He said that the sign read, "Be careful." Let me think of it. He said, "Be careful of the toes you step on the way up, because they may be attached to the ass you have to kiss on the way down."
Oh, that's a great sign. I love that.
Yeah, and he said it was back because I had never really heard of Barry Beckett, and then since then I looked him up and I did some research and learned about him. But I'll never forget that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and that's great. That's a great bit of knowledge there.
It is. It really is. Did you play with like Will McFarlane down there?
I played a little bit with Will. We did the Forrester Sisters together.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a few projects, but at that time, Will was doing a lot of like live gigs. Like he had a ministry going on, and he'd go out and do like that. And I'd see him every once in a while, but not he. And then he moved. He moved while I was still there. I forgot where he moved to, and then he moved back. I think he moved back like 10 years ago or something.
Okay, so you get hooked up, and now the guy says, "I love how you play B flat 7 or B chord with a flat B7 with a flat 5th." So boom, you're in. That was the easiest job audition you ever had, I'm assuming.
Well, you know what? I had no intention of moving to Shoals. I can tell you, I was saving up money to move to Nashville, but I would have moved to Nashville. There's no telling what could have happened because I was so green, you know. And Clayton, I mean, he took me under his wing. He forced people to use me, you know. And thankfully, there were a few skills I had that other people in that town didn't have. So I kind of made a niche for myself.
Well, man, if you got a mentor like that, you'd have been crazy not to go. And it's not like you were moving to, you know, some little podunk place. You're moving to a major place with a major studios. You know, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So, whatever. I thought it was really cool that did you get to work with your brother ever?
Well, he moved up with me and we did a few songs, but it was one of those things where he had, at one time when I was a lot younger, he had a deal on Motown.
Wow.
From what I understand, he was one of the first solo artists signed to Motown that wasn't like a soul singer. I mean, he was basically like Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, you know, folky, that kind of deal. And he walked away from it.
Why?
Well, they sent him some songs he didn't want to sing, and he literally walked.
What did he wind up doing? Did he stay in music, or did he have a different career?
Nah, he just basically, I mean, he still just, you know, works around town. He just doesn't do music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least you had better fortune than that.
Yeah.
So you're hanging out in Muscle Shoals. How long were you there for?
I was there for 8 years.
And what made you leave?
Well, I mean, you know, you play on a lot of demos and people hear them, and, you know, and then you get to play on some records just because they want the same parts and stuff, you know, which that's kind of the way you do it. And I'd played on a ton of demos by a bunch of great songwriters, Mac McAnally and Robert Byrne, and all these guys, Mike McGraw and Bud McGuire, and all these people, and they were getting cuts on Alabama. And I got a call for 3 days to work on the Alabama album. So I said, great. And I show up, and I find out that of the they had 9 songs picked. I had played on the demos of 6 of them, and Randy said, well, just get that guy, you know, which worked out good. So I played on the Alabama thing, and while I was there, David Briggs, another keyboard player, was on the session, and he came up to me at the end. I ended up working 2 weeks with him because they kept adding days, which was great for me. And David said, man, you need to be in Nashville. And I said, man, I got a few people I work for up here, but ain't a whole lot. And he said almost the exact same thing Clayton said. He said, son, he said, move up here. I'll get you on everything I do.
Wow.
I'll talk about you all over town. And, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, yeah, I've heard that before. So
You're spoiled at that point.
One of the engineers overheard the conversation and came up to me after and said, dude, do you know who David Briggs is? And I said, well, yeah, he's a session guy. And he says, no, he's way more than that. So I told David, I said, hey, dude, I'm going to do the same thing I did in Muscle Shoals. I'll be up here next week. And just by, you know, I guess he liked me, whatever. He started using me on stuff, and it was like I hit the ground running up here. Plus, you know, the first single was a song I played on, you know, and Alabama was the biggest group in the world at that time for country music. So it really helped. And then, you know, I was very fortunate.
So you had literally an identical situation happen to you twice. What's the chances?
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's even creepier than that. The day before I moved up, I was in Atlanta doing some sessions for a contemporary Christian act. Her name's Babby Mason. It's very like high church, big, huge orchestra things. And there's a keyboard player on it, and his name is Larry Goss.
Oh, my God.
And he says, why aren't you in Nashville? And I said, well, it's funny you say that, Larry. I'm moving tomorrow. And he gives me his number, and he says, hey, man, call me when you get in and give me your number. And this was before cell phones.
Sure.
You know, and an answer machine. So I call him. He calls back about 2 hours later, and he says, do you have your book? And I said, yeah. And he starts reading off dates. He says, and literally books me on 18 days.
Holy cow.
And at the end, I'm like, he said, well, that ought to hold you for a bit. And I said, Larry, who are you? And he says, well, I produce a little bit of Southern gospel. And I didn't know anything about gospel music. I mean, totally had no clue how big it was here in Nashville and as a recording place. And I found out later on that Larry Goss was like the biggest Southern gospel producer in the world. And like, I mean, he was working like all the time, and, he stuck me in there. So I'm telling you, it was a very cool, lucky situation.
Wow. In what I've found, and mind you, I'm coming from the business side, but I've seen this in business, and now I've seen this in music pretty consistently, is that when the universe has something in line for you,
yeah,
it's going to do everything in its power to get you there.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was great for me.
I mean, that's unreal for this to happen 3 times to you with all keyboard. I mean, what's the likelihood? And then, so you're on the phone with the guy, and you must like think you hit the lottery. You're getting booked 18 days. You just day one in town. No,
yeah,
and you know nobody.
I'm telling you, it was pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, man. Well, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Well, I got to say, one of the things, like when I was in Shoals, I worked a lot in Atlanta, and I did quite a few like industrial films and stuff like that for this guy named Mark Aramian. And he did gospel. I mean, he was producing Babby, but he did a bunch of other stuff. And that's how Larry had really heard about me. So he knew I could play. So it wasn't like he was just taking a chance. But I mean, just the weirdest odds that he would be on that day, just guesting as a keyboard player,
Well, that's what I'm saying. But this happened to you 3 times, and none of them took a chance because they all heard you play.
Oh yeah.
Wow. That's just so. And I guess Nashville was your place to be because nobody else said to move to somewhere.
Oh, I mean, Nashville was the place, and. I mean, I hate to say it, because the business is down so far, but it still is the only place where people do tracking dates on a regular basis.
Yeah, where you can keep that many people employed, yes.
Yeah.
Unless you move out to L.A., and even there, I don't think it's as much as Nashville from what I hear, at least talking to the guys out there.
Yeah, I mean, we actually get together as a group and play. It was pretty special.
You've worked with so many like iconic artists. I was hoping I could throw a few of them out there, and you can talk about maybe how you got the gig and the nature of what the engagement was, and if you have a cool or interesting story you could share about working with them.
Oh, sure.
Let's start with Florida Georgia Line.
Well, I did 2 demos for the guys, and who's the guy the songwriter? Chase. I think his name's Chase Rice.
I think something. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he came in, and I did a couple of demos for them with him. One of them was Cruise, and we did it at my studio over here. One of them was Cruise, and there was another song, I can't remember what it is, but I played a talk box on that. And I mean, the guys were like, they were fresh out of Belmont. They were just joking around, they didn't know, I mean, they were just like regular guys.
Sure.
And then they came in and did a demo with a friend of mine named Chris Kavanaugh, another song. Mm-hmm. So, I got to know him a little bit. And when I didn't hear anything, and then all of a sudden I get a call from, who was it? It's whoever Joey Moy's production assistant is. And they said, hey, we need your info. We're doing a card. We used your parts on, I don't know if it was Cruise. Well, there was a talk box on one song. I think something on Cruise, maybe. I know they used my lick on the country version, but whatever that is. And so I said, "Oh, cool." I said,
"So it was just a demo, but they used it on the master."
They used my parts. Yeah, they flew them over into their session. So that's how I got the gig. Doing that, and a similar thing happened on the last record. I played banjo on a demo for somebody else, but Florida Georgia Line cut it, and they used my part.
That's like an unexpected bonus when that happens, right?
Oh, well, yeah, because you get paid more.
So let me explain to the listeners in case they don't understand. Basically, there's two kinds of recordings. There's a demo and a master. And a demo is when a band just wants to get or a writer really just wants to get the feel for what the track can sound like. So they'll come in, hire a bunch of guys like John, and they'll play. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I got invited to a demo session by Rob McNally about 2 months ago. So when I was up in Nashville,
Oh, right.
and I got to see it, and I will say that is by far in the music business the best money you can ever spend. To go in there, and you don't even need chords if you don't want to, and for like under $1,000 probably, you can go in there and give these top professionals that all their job is to do is to create songs, and they'll make you a song that's really good. And so that's a demo, and a master is when it's the intention of the artist or the whoever to go in and cut a track for a record. So when a demo turns into a record, what John was saying is in that case they went in just to make a demo, but they liked his part so much they put them on the record. Did I do that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I've learned something, and 200 calls. Probably took me 190 of them to learn it, but
yeah, that's how it works.
So that's really cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're playing on the demo, the object of your game is to make the song the best it can be. So obviously, you're doing everything you can to make it sound great and be able for somebody to listen and go, "Gosh, I need that guy on my record."
Right.
know?
Yeah, it's not like you're working not as hard because it's a demo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's
master.
the kiss of death when you start doing that.
Yeah.
That's when it's time to go home.
Does that happen a lot? Have you seen that happen a lot?
I've seen people sleep through demos.
Yeah. Is it because they're at the end of their career, or?
No, sometimes they're just, their work, if they're, I mean, heck, I've been in a situation where, you do a week of masters and then you get booked on a demo on a Saturday morning or a Friday night and you're thinking, man, what am I going to do to come up with to make, because you're beat. But, as soon as you start slacking, that's when somebody else takes your place.
Yeah, yeah. And I would imagine that the top guys are guys like you are well aware of that, and that prevents you from slacking. Oh
yeah, I mean there's always guys waiting to take your spot. So as soon as you let up, they're in there.
Yeah, and let me clarify. I didn't mean that alone prevents you from slacking, but you got a good work ethic or you don't. That's just yeah. But on top of that, knowing that, hey man, I'm having a rough day. Well, that's my problem. Let me not make it their problem, because if I do, someone else is right behind me. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, when I said one of the best highs ever is when you walk in and the songwriter or the artist goes and comes up to you and gives you a big hug and says, dude, you just made my record, or dude, you just made my song come alive, or whatever it is. And whoever does it, everybody in the room knows when it happens. And it's just an amazing feeling.
That's awesome. Is that a different feeling than when you're on stage and you're getting like a big round of applause, or?
It's similar. I mean, I don't really play live very much at all, but it's similar. Yeah. It's that kind of thing where, and it's just it's a feeling of accomplishment,
You haven't toured. You've been pretty much all doing sessions since you've been in Nashville then.
Yeah, I haven't. I did a couple of gigs with KT Osmond because she didn't have a band, and I just played on her record. And that's kind of
Yeah.
I never really toured that much. I really like to stay at home and sleep in my own bed.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. I hear that. I mean, yeah. You don't need an excuse for that. Well, I only ask because I know a few guys that have gone out occasionally and done stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jeff. I think Jeff still plays with Rita, and that's a great gig because she doesn't do that many dates, and she's really good to her band. you know?
Yeah, you're not schlepping around in a white van.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's a really good gig. Let's talk about Blake Shelton. How'd you get the gig with him, and cool story?
You know, I'd been doing demos for Bobby Braddock, who's an incredible, like Hall of Famer songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was producing Blake. He started producing Blake, and I played on the pre-production of it, and I played on his first 2 records. And you go in, and I've been knowing Blake for a while. He had sung demos for a friend of mine's publishing company, but you never know. I mean, I never knew Blake was going to become Blake Shelton.
Yeah.
Truthfully, he was always funny, but and then I played on a few, and then I didn't. I think I played on his first 2.5, 3 records or something, and I didn't see him for a bit. And then he had a song called Neon Lights or Neon, and I'd played on the demo. I played his banjo part, and they used it. So then I got on another Blake Shelton by accident of a demo part.
Wow.
Yeah.
But statistically, you're playing so many demos that's not unusual that they're moving over to masters.
No, I mean that's kind of why they hire us. If you're playing on a lot of masters, and and now there aren't that many masters, so there's plenty of time to play on demos. And I produce a lot, so when they hear that, they know it's somebody who can do it, and they pick.
Have you ever worked with someone, like you said, I had no idea Blake was going to be Blake. Have you ever worked with somebody and they came in and you said, holy smokes, this, lady, man, group, whatever, these guys are going to be huge?
Well, let's see. I mean, I've been wrong quite a few times. I played on Shania's first album before Mutt Lange started producing her. And, obviously, beautiful girls, sang okay. But I had no idea. And then Mutt molded her into something like a phenomenon.
Right.
And I've played on a few people where I thought, man, this is amazing. There was a girl that, I can't remember the guy's name. He worked for Sony, and he was responsible for a lot of Britney Spears' early hits. And he brought this girl in who's probably one of the 10 best singers I've ever heard.
Oh, wow.
And she had she had all the makings of a star. Everything. She had the looks, the personality, the voice. They had great songs. He came in for 3 days. We overdubbed. And I thought, well, this is a shoo-in. Well, never heard from her again. I mean, she never did anything. It was really sad. It's just one of those, there's so much involved besides, the obvious. It's luck and timing and all that other stuff. So, you never can tell. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody wrong. Who's the guy? I knew we had a hit on Ricky Lynn Gregg had this song. We cut this song on this guy, and I knew it was going to be a hit the moment we started playing it. We heard the demo, and there was a chart, and we walked out and we started playing it, and I knew it was going to be a hit because at that time that's what country music needed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he didn't go on and have millions of hit records, but that one I knew it was going to go up the charts just because it spoke to everybody. It was one of those songs. I can't even remember what it was, but I felt it. And when we walked in, we all said the same thing. That's going to be a hit. And Billy Dean.
So there's been some occasions where you kind of like had an inkling. Something was so powerful.
Oh yeah,
musically.
The song. Yeah. I don't know if you know this guy, John Barry.
Do not.
He was around for a while, had a few hits. He had a song. Oh man, I can't remember what it was, but it was a huge hit. And sometimes I mean, obviously he's a great singer. I mean, incredible. But sometimes the song is so strong, it doesn't really matter all that much who sings it, because it speaks to so many people.
That's gotta be rare, though, no?
It's pretty rare. Yeah, it's even rarer now.
Well, I promise you, if I sang it, it wouldn't have been a hit.
Well, I don't know. I've got melodies here. I can fix you.
You're going to need a lot of post-production. It's funny. You know who Dave Mason is from Traffic?
Oh, yeah.
I interviewed Dave last week or something like that, and this was real funny. As he plays 12-string on All Along the Watchtower, the beginning strums.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "How did you meet Jimmy?" He goes, "Well, I just walked into this private club one day and he was just sitting down by the table himself, and I just introduced myself." So that was funny enough. But then I said, when you saw him play, I said, "Did you know, like, you had to have something?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "Everybody saw that guy play, and everybody knew we were in the presence of something that had never been seen before and probably would never be seen again."
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that, watching Jimi Hendrix play as a kid.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, holy smoke.
Yeah. He really has no words for it. I know.
No.
What about Taylor Swift? How did you get that gig? What was your experience there?
Well, I knew, I knew Nathan, her producer, right, when she first started, and he called me up, and I knew him just, he was just a guy doing demos around town. He produced a lot of demos for friends of mine and did a great job. And his wife sang, I think. And he called me up. He says, "Hey, man, I've got a master for you." And I went, "Really?" I said, "Great. Where?" And he said, "Come over to, where was it? It was over at Sound Kitchen. No, Sound Emporium." He says, "Come over at 2:00. And I said, "Okay." So I go over. And he says, "It's this girl I'm working on. She's got a deal on whatever, Sony or whatever, whoever she was with." And I said, "Well, where is she?" He says, "Well, she's 14, so she's still, I don't know if she was in school or wherever she was. I think she was in school." And I played on about 3 songs. I played banjo on 1 or 2 and mandolin and a couple acoustic passes. And he was all excited because he had come up with this new miking thing. And I said, "Man, that's cool." And I played, and then I left and signed a card and left and didn't know. And years later, when we moved in here into this house, my wife was wanting to put up some gold and platinum records on the walls. And I said, people don't like that. She said, no, people love that. And I said, "Really?" And she says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, go to allmusic.com and they'll tell you who I played on." And she texted me. I'm down here working. She texted me. She said, "Do you know you played on Taylor Swift?" And I said, "I don't think so. I think that I'd remember." And she said, "No, you're on 3 songs on the first album."
Wow.
So I didn't even know.
You didn't know who it was. You saw, who would
Well,
pay
I didn't meet her, so I didn't have a face to go with the name. And, the card was already filled out, so all I did was sign my name. So I didn't really, I didn't pay attention.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I was in shock.
Well, plus she's 14. It'd be almost creepy if you knew everything about her. You know what I'm saying?
No, it would have been nice to meet the person that you're working on their record for. But, she was in school.
Yeah. She was, that's funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned that you're doing some producing. How did that come about, and what kind of producing are you doing?
Well, I've always done a little bit of producing, and it's basically people who can't afford to, hire a whole band and hire a big, if you can't hire Dan Huff, hire me. I'm way cheaper. So I've done friends of mine, done records for friends of mine, and I've always done it at my house. And when ADATs came out, it was great because all of a sudden I can have more than 12 tracks. And so I've always done it, but when I got Pro Tools, I started getting way more serious about the whole engineering thing and just got more into it, and I always had drummers put on drum passes, and then lately I've been programming because that's the sound now, and just I love the part where somebody brings in a song and they're just playing an acoustic guitar and they go, man, I don't know what to do with this. And I said, well, here's what I'd do. And I make them a track. To me, that's one of my favorite things now. I love taking a raw song and going, we need to do this. And I'll do something and, hopefully they love it. So far, it's worked out pretty good.
You love it because you're essentially making something out of nothing?
Well, I'm making something out of a little. I'm doing a lot out of a little, I hope.
Sure.
And, it's just fun to create. Because they have like 3 chords and the truth, and then hopefully it gets bigger.
They have 3 chords and the truth.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I've never heard that.
That's a Harlan Howard saying, I think.
Who's that?
He was a huge country music songwriter, like huge, like legendary.
3 chords, and I love that, man. Right.
Yeah.
That's going to be your 3 chords and the truth.
Yeah.
So is that like how much time are you spending in production in producing right now?
I would say probably 35-40%.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have there's this guy I'm working with now, KR Hedden. It's really cool. It's a whole different approach to stuff. And started out, he was kind of like a bro country kind of thing, but it's gotten a little bit more popish, I want to say. I've got and then I've just co-produced a record called Nashville Dreamin', where it was 11 different artists, and they each had one song, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, who was that all about?
Well, this guy David Webb, he came in with this idea, and he said, "Hey, man, I've got these people. I held a contest, and these are the 11 winners, and I need somebody to produce the tracks and produce the vocals and do all the stuff." And I said, well, heck, I'm your guy. So we did it. And it's interesting because, when you work with one artist, you're doing 6 or 10 or 12 songs with somebody, you get to know them, and, you kind of know what they like and what they don't like. But with 11 artists, you basically just fly by the seat of your pants because,
sure,
there's a budget and there's a time limit. So it was kind of fun on both of those aspects. That it was. There's so much different stuff on it. There's like very pop country to extremely Hank Jr. sounding stuff. And it was really fun, and everybody was really nice about it. They came in, sang their vocals, and they go, "Oh, I love that," or "Oh, maybe that's not me," And I go, "Okay, let's mute it." Boom.
So you're very well versed with all the tools of the trade that you need.
Oh yeah, I got to say I have a little bit of there's a little bit of a crazy aspect because I love gear.
Oh, okay, perfect.
And I love reading about gear, and I love using gear. It's it's a personal problem, but
but if that sounds like it makes you money, so it's fine.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask you this: if and we'll talk about gear next after this question, but having been at this for a long time, what advice would you give yourself, if any, to give the young John Willis that might have helped you avoid some stress or anxiety or whatever, fill in the blank, something you didn't want to deal with?
Gosh. I don't know. I was going to be a doctor till I saw Roy Clark sitting on a bale of hay playing banjo with those chicks around him thinking, oh, banjo, girls. I was 15, and I thought, yeah, that's the way to get some girls. Little did I know. The classic
rock and roll thing.
So, I wish I had known that it's not up to me, because I would do things and I would think, man, I really did a great job. And then I wouldn't get called back.
Okay.
And I would I would get upset about it. I would sit there and I go, man, what happened? And then I'd find out, years and years later, you find out it wasn't me. It was somebody else going in there and saying, hey, we need to use, these guys instead of these other guys. It's one of those things where you aren't in control of everything. I mean, you just do the best job you can do, and then you just go on.
Did you tend to beat yourself up?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard sometimes because you play on these songs that become like huge singles, and then you're not there for the next record, or you know what I mean? It's it's a weird feeling, and you think, man, what did I do? And it could be something totally unrelated, Well,
everybody says that people change, they change their. Somebody was telling me the other day, I'm not going to say who or what the artist was, and they said guy changes producers every record. I'm like, what? And the initial record was a hit, and then he changed, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't, but like stuff like that is what you're talking about.
Yep.
And then they just bring in their own. Obviously every producer is going to bring in their own people, but
yeah. And the one thing about age in this business is like when you start working with guys, and you're their guy. Hey, when they're not hot, you're not hot anymore. And then they panic and go, oh my gosh, I need to use the new guys. I mean,
right.
It's just one of those things, man. I mean, it's just the evolution of the biz.
Yeah, I've spoke to guys that told me they've gotten fired for everything from they were too overweight to too old. It's like the only business where you could overtly discriminate, it seems like.
Yeah.
And it's like not a problem. Which seems kind of weird, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So let's talk about gear for a few minutes. What's your go-to guitar? I mean, and by the way, John's in his studio, and I was lucky enough to kind of get a little preview of it. It's amazing. It's just like giant walls of guitars, like.
Just tell them to go to my website. They can see.
Yeah, okay. Go to John's website. Let me tell you, it's not. Let me spell it. It's Willie Zounds. Like his last name is Willis, so it's Willi and then ZOUNDS.com.
Oh no!
No, I messed it up.
WILLIS.
Oh, it is. Okay, it's Willis. Okay, it's
OUNDZ.
Okay. Oh, okay. I put the Z in the wrong place.
There you go.
Okay, I apologize.
Hey, my electric guitar, man, and what I've been playing just probably the last 6 months mostly, I hate to say it, is this Line 6 James Tyler. It's like a Les Paul. Man, I've been using that like crazy. It's the one that he makes, and not the Korean one. I had one of those, and it felt a little, I don't know, it didn't speak to me. But this one is really talking to me, and I use it probably half the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how long have you had it?
I've had it, I mean, about 3 years maybe, and I didn't use it at first. It wasn't making me crazy. I mean, I wasn't going, oh, this is incredible. I was just, yeah, it's nice. But then I started one day. I just strung it up different. I put 11s on it and started playing it.
Oh wow!
And all of a sudden, I was like, oh man! And then I started using it for other junk, and it's like my favorite now. On electric, my acoustic, I have a Taylor long neck. Sorry.
I would imagine you're a big guy.
No, I'm not. Which is a problem. I'm short.
Well, you're playing with 11s, and you got a long neck.
Well, this Taylor is like, it's got 2 extra frets on the business end, and it's like, probably half of the acoustic songs that I play acoustic on, I use that guitar.
Well, that's getting a lot of attention.
Oh gosh, yeah. So, there's a Kenny Chesney song that has he did a duet with Dave Mathis, so it's a ballad. And on one side is that guitar tuned down to like a C, and on the other side is a guitar tuned an octave above that. Same
guitar?
No, different guitars, but like stacked the exact same part.
Oh, okay. You mean same? Okay, when you said other side, you meant tracks.
Yeah. Okay, so like, okay. I think in the left ear it's the low one, and the right ear it's the high one.
Wow.
And, oh man, it was nerve-wracking.
Man, I should have talked about that. What was that like, playing with Kenny Chesney and Dave Matthews?
wow. Well, Dave Matthews wasn't there, and the guy who wrote the song had this part, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn that. That's amazing. And it has this droning, like the root is droning in the middle of the chord, kind of like Blackbird. It's one of those things where there's a trick to it, and if you know the trick, it's not incredibly terrible, hard, not, but there is a trick.
You mean technically to make it work like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a technique there where if you don't know the technique, it's going to be impossible to play. But if you do, it's not that bad.
Can you share it, or is it a secret?
It's just having that G drone in the middle. And Kenny came over here and said, "Hey man, I'm playing this on the award show, and I don't know how to play it, and I want to at least look like I can play it." So I gave him like a half an hour guitar lesson about how to play that part.
That's cool.
And he filmed it on his iPhone, and then he texted the video to Dave Matthews, and Dave Matthews saw it, and Dave's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he can play. And he took one look at it and he went, "Nah, I'm just going to walk out, sing." I mean, they used the track anyway, but I mean, Kenny actually sat there and tried to learn how to play it. I mean, I showed him the trick, and then he was like, "Oh, okay."
Very cool. Yeah, I know a couple of guys who play with Dave. No one's seen him in the studio. Does he exist?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I know at least two other guys who played on Dave Mason tracks, and they said, "Well, I didn't see Dave in the studio." Dave's a myth. And what would be your number 3?
Oh gosh, well, I can tell you, I have a guitar that I don't play as much as I would like to, but I love it. And there's a drug called reverb.com. Don't ever partake. Don't ever.
That's good, man. I've never heard that one like that.
Ever
That's awesome.
partake of this drug. It's horrible. Yeah. So last Christmas, not the past one, but the one before, like November, December, I discovered this drug and this app on my phone.
John's like, I was high on reverb. I couldn't help it.
Oh my gosh. It was and I've always wanted a Gil-Euron. Because a friend of mine, his name's Osnoy. He's an incredible.
Yeah, I know who that guy is. He's a great player.
Oh my gosh, he's insane. He's so good. Well, he is friends with Gil, and he was talking about Gil's guitars. And I said, man, I never heard. So then I watched some YouTube videos, blah, blah, blah. And I said, man, that would be nice. I said, because, I got some Les Pauls, but none of them make me want to pick them up. I just use them when I have to. And so anyway, so I get on Reverb, and I'm searching for Gil-Euron, and all of a sudden this dot neck blonde 335 looking thing comes up. And I find out that Gil has made like 3 or 4 of these guitars, and there's a guy in Dallas that has one for sale. Well, I've got some guitars up there for sale, and I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to take a stab at it and see if he wants to trade me a couple, 3 guitars and a little bit of change to. And sure enough, he went for it. And I thought, I don't really want the Postal Service to get a hold of this guitar. So I thought, I'll hire somebody to just go and pick it up. So I had a friend booked to go and pick it up. And I told, dude, this guy's going to show up. He's going to bring you a check and the guitars. You check them out. Great. Then blah, blah, blah. We're done. Well, the day before, this guy bailed because he works on the road with, I don't know if it's, man, I'd love to say it's Lee Brice, but I think it's somebody else. But it's somebody like Lee Brice. He bails, and I go,
your seller? Man. Or your trade partner?
No, my guy who's going to drive.
The driver.
I was going to pay him $450 to drive to Dallas and pick this up and bring it back. Well, he bailed and apologized. And I looked at my calendar, and I had a 2:00 here for a vocal. And I called him and I said, hey, can I push this off to Saturday? And they said, no, I'm sorry. Can I push this off to next week? And they said, yeah, sure. So I thought, I'll drive to Dallas. I'll play it. I'll trade. I'll sleep, get up the next morning, drive back.
How far is Dallas from a drive?
It's 12 hours maybe.
Okay, so it's a hefty drive.
It's a fair amount of space. And so I get in the car. I get up early because I'm supposed to meet this guy at like 2:00. Drive to Dallas, play the guitar. I play 3 notes on this guitar, and I go, "Oh gosh, I'm in love." I mean, and that doesn't happen to me very often. I mean, they're like tools to me, but every once in a while.
Wait a minute. Come on, I call bullshit on that. You've got like 60 guitars in there.
I know, but they're all tools. Trust me.
Come on.
Every once in a while, I'll play a guitar, and it's like it's one of those guitars where you just go, "Oh man, I just love this."
So how
the
many?
rest of them is kind of like a hammer and a wrench. You gotta get a Strat. Okay.
Kind of, sort of, believe that halfway.
Well, I'm telling you. Anyway, this one was like, "Oh my gosh, I love this." So, we do the deal. I get in the car and I think, I'm going to drive a little bit and then I'll pull over. Well, I'm driving and I'm driving. I'm so excited about this guitar. And I call my wife and I say, hey, I'm just going to drive till I get tired. It's probably be Little Rock. So I know this is totally illegal, but I wasn't watching the screen. Anyway, I pull up YouTube and I'm listening to those Tim Pierce.
While you're driving?
Yeah, but I'm not watching. I swear I wasn't watching. I was just listening to them, and they were talking to, I just start watching, oops. I'm listening to all their YouTube videos. They interviewed people like Mike Thompson. It's really cool stuff. And next thing I know, I'm passing Memphis, and I'm going, dude, I'm going home. So I drove all the way to Dallas and back in one day because of this silly guitar.
No, because you were high on reverb.
I'm telling you, reverb. It's a dangerous business out there.
Oh my Lord, that's amazing, man.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the stand that has like 7 guitars in it, and 1, 2, 3, 5 of them I bought off of reverb.
Nice.
It's terrible. This is a terrible drug.
Nice.
Stay away, kids.
Do you know how much money reverb does? You know what they did? 400. I read something about a month ago in Music Trades. $457 million in business last year.
I could see it.
That's a lot of guitar picks, man.
That's a lot of dough.
Yeah, $457 million.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I got to believe 75% of them is guitars. No, at least maybe more. But
I would think so. I mean, I bought a wah-wah pedal and a few guitars. Yeah. I'd say guitar is probably their main thing.
Yeah, especially as a percentage of gross sales, it's got to be 75, 80%. And then other instruments and accessories is the balance. So that was a really cool story behind how you got that guitar. And that's a Yaron, Yaron, correct?
Yeah, and it looks like an old dot neck 335, but a blonde. And it just plays like a dream. I love the guitar. It's just one of those guitars. It's a little specific sounding, so I don't use it on everything, but man, I hate to say it, I just like looking at it sometimes.
No, that's cool. So I have a 335. It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, those are nice instruments to just to look at. Guitars in general are pretty cool to look at, actually.
Oh yeah.
we need to get you in a 12-step program, man.
Oh well, my wife put me in like 11-step.
The way you said, "Oh yeah," there's just too much lust in that.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
Hey, what about music in general? If I asked you to pick your 3 Desert Island discs or downloads or whatever the heck it is, in no particular order and knowing that they could change any day, 3 different ones, what would be your top 3 right now?
Man, well, I'd probably have to take Toto 4. Mm-hmm. Because, man, Steve Lukather, I hate to say it, man, that dude, and he's still doing it. Mm-hmm. It's amazing what that cat does. Just everything about his sound is exactly like his personality. I mean, it's exactly like him. I'd probably Carlton 335, and I would say, I know this is so weird, but I love that album, Frou Frou. Have you ever heard that?
By who?
It's Imogen Heap and this guy named Guy Sigsworth, who's a producer. And before she started putting out her own, I think she maybe had one of her own, and then they formed a group for a second called Frou Frou. And it's just the most amazing electronic vocal. It's just amazing.
No, that's cool.
And it's one of those where I can listen to it. I probably listen to it, I would guarantee you 300 times, and I still hear things that I go, whoa. Yeah.
That's really cool. I got turned on to some cool music the other day by, do you know George Marinelli?
Oh, yes.
He listens to like some cool Brazilian and world music, which was kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah, man. George, he's cool.
There's a lot of, he was very cool. There's a lot of interesting, cool stuff out there, you know?
Dude, we were on a session once, and George had this Gretchen, and he hit a chord on it, and I said, oh, my God, Chain of Fools. I walked over, and it was like, you know, there were flat ones, and they were huge, and he had it tuned down, and it was like Chain of Fools.
Did you guys?
And I was just like, that's how they did it. And he was looking at me like, well, yeah, dude, are you stupid? I was like, oh my gosh, anyway.
Yeah, but sometimes, music, that's the great thing about music, man. It just makes you, it doesn't take a lot sometimes to make you feel so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tell me something about yourself, John, that people would either be surprised to hear or might find a little odd.
Oh, I'm fascinated by magnets.
Okay. That's interesting. In what way?
Well, they're all over my studio. I mean, they're everywhere in here. When I was a kid, somebody brought something to school one day, and I was like, how does this work? What makes this, And I just love them. I play with, I got the little bitty ones that you play with, and I don't know. There's just something about magnets. I know it's weird, but
no, hey, better magnets than cocaine.
Well, I've never really been into cocaine because you do cocaine, you can't buy more gear.
Very true. Some people don't learn that lesson easily. No, that's cool. Do you like science in general?
Yeah. I love astronomy and all that stuff. I love,
Yeah, so that kind of goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's interesting. This has been a good day for that question. I always like that question because you get to learn about, what you're into. And I was speaking to someone else today, and they said they're a beekeeper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. That's pretty cool.
Well, God bless them, because we need them. The more bees, the merrier.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what he was explaining. And I didn't know anything about bees. And I'm like, man, and he's got like 3 hives. I'm like, well, shit, when you leave, do you need someone are they like a cat when you leave town? Does someone need, he goes, no. But he goes, you just got to maintain them periodically.
Gosh.
Yeah. So bees and magnets. Interesting. I like that. Good day.
Mm-hmm.
Most important person in your life?
Oh, gosh. Well, my wife and my son. I don't know if they're kind of interchangeable with each other.
Absolutely. What's the best money you've spent on something? You might say that, Gil, you're wrong.
Well, I would. It hasn't made me a lot of money, but it was a great purchase for my soul.
Sure.
But probably the best money I spent was that long neck tailor, because they only have 3 of them. They only made 3.
Oh, wow.
And from what I understand, Dan Crary has the other 2. And because I'm an endorsee for him, I got it for, I think I paid $1,200 for it.
How come they only made 3? I
don't know. And when he told me he was making me one, I said, dude, I'm going to tell everybody in town. You're going to have to make a bunch, because I'll have them sold. And I did tell a bunch of people, and I had 12 people wanting to get them. And I'm trying to think of who it was. I think it was Bob Borbonis. I think that was his name. He was the rep. He called me up. He said, hey, man, quit telling people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I said, why? And he says, we're not making any more. And I never found out why, because it's an amazing guitar. And I've rented it to people, to play, because it has a certain thing to it. Like, it's not quite a baritone, but you can play it like a real acoustic. So you can, you can really hit it, and it's.
You said you rented it?
I've rented it to a couple people. Yeah.
That's cool. It's like an Airbnb, except Air G&G or whatever. That's pretty cool. What would you say your biggest business or personal win is, John?
Probably business-wise, music business-wise, would be playing on the Alabama album. I think it was called "Touch Me When We're Dancing." I mean, that totally changed my deal. I went from being in Muscle Shoals and scraping by to like moving here and really, it. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. In a matter of a few months, it was like, who is this guy?
That's awesome, man. Do you know who J.D. Simo is?
J.D. who?
Simo, S-I-M-O.
I don't know him.
So J.D. Simo, he runs a band called Simo, and he's about 30 actually. And he wound up playing for Don Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
You know who that guy is? And he has a lot. Okay, so Don Kelly's a guy in town, and he's known for having like great guitar players in his band. At Robert's Western Wear, he's had like, Troy Lancaster.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So he's had Troy, Johnny Highland, loads of really, that's his thing. He finds great guitar players. So JD Simo, the guy I originally said, I interviewed him, and he had a great story. And he goes, "Man, things were not going well for me. So I'm out busking on Broadway to hopefully get some money to either eat or pay my rent. I ran into a guy I knew who was like the bass player, and he told me to come in. They needed me to fill in, and eventually I took the slot." And he goes, 6 months later, my life was completely different. A very similar situation. Mm-hmm. And it's so nice to hear these because it keeps you motivated when it keeps me so I'm a type A, but it's so inspirational when I hear things like this. Like, man, you never know. You're one contact away, one note away, one song away from whatever that next plateau is in line for,
Oh yeah. And too, it's a friend of mine. His name's Sonny Garrish. He's an incredible steel player. He's played on millions and millions of records and all this stuff. And when I moved to town, there was a story that Sonny paid cash for his last two houses. So I go up to Sonny one day, and I said, "Sonny," "you've been working, you've been busy as long as people have known you. How do you do it?" And he says, "Never say no."
Yeah.
Until you can afford to.
Yeah.
And I said, "Really?" And he said, "And you never can afford to."
Ah.
Dude, I mean, it was like, and he was right. I mean, it's like, if you want to work.
Yeah, that's
you
awesome.
Say everything, because you never know when you're going to make a connection with somebody, and it's like, boom, they're like the next huge producer or the next huge songwriter, and it's, you can't tell.
Well, one thing I will say is that in the music business, it seems like, and I'm an outsider, but I've been running this podcast since the end of August, right? Even as an outsider, it seems like, man, if you if you're a good person and if you do right, man, everybody's going to promote you. It seems like musicians are very comfortable endorsing or saying, "Hey, meet this guy, meet that guy."
Yeah,
and I think that's a little bit unique to the extent that it is in the music community.
Yeah, I mean, literally, David Briggs he made my career in this town, literally.
Yeah, but you had two other guys. Sorry, go ahead. I apologize, John.
And I asked him. I said, "David, why me?" I mean, because I've been knowing him a long time. I mean, we did the CMA pre-records for like 20 years. I played. He was the music director on them. I played those. And one day we're just sitting around. I said, "Dude, why me?" He said, "You didn't fill the first verse." And I said,
"Wow."
Huh? He said, "You let the song be till it was ready for you." And I said, "What?" And then I found out that he was just, at that time, everybody was like way overplaying, and I was never that kind of guy. And he said, that's why. He says, if you really want to know, that's why.
That's awesome.
Which worked out good for me.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's an awesome story, man. I'll make a note of that. That's really cool, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great story. You didn't fill the first verse.
I didn't fill the first verse. And I said, I basically told him, I said, man, I never fill the first verse. I hate hearing fills in the first verse. And he goes, I know. And that's why you're here.
That's awesome, man. What an awesome story. I'm going to ask you two more questions. If you could go back in time and do one thing differently, either business or personal, what would that one thing be?
Oof, I don't know. Truthfully, I feel pretty blessed.
That's fair.
That's, I mean, really, I would hate to change anything, so anything would change now. So I think I'd just leave it be.
I hear you. And then the last question, John, is what's the biggest change in your personality been over the last 10 years? And has that been a deliberate change or just random that it happened? Like, is it something you worked on or something that just happened to you?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I like to laugh. And I try to find more humor in things now. You know? It's because there's so many serious things. I do like to laugh, and I like to be happy. And I don't stress over things as much as I used to.
Yeah, that's
you know, and I got to say my wife has helped me a lot with that, because she's like got a totally different outlook on things, and it really helps to see things through her eyes and go, man, you're right. I shouldn't care about that.
That's awesome. You know? That's a nice story. How long have you been married?
Almost 11 years.
Good for you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's nice. That's a really good story. Yeah, stress sucks, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, it'll kill you.
And when you realize that you're responsible for how much stress you have and you actually do something about it, isn't it like, for me, and it was like 1,000,000-pound weight lifted off my shoulders. It's like, wow, I don't have to deal with this crap.
I got to say, last Sunday we were sitting out on the patio. We have a little fire pit. We built a fire, and we're just sitting there, and Chase is sleeping in my lap or her lap, I guess both of our laps, and we're just sitting on the couch watching the fire. And I started thinking, man, 15 years ago, I would never have been able to sit and just enjoy this. I would go in the house and practice, or I would have to be doing something. And I was thinking, oh, God bless her for making me relax.
Good for you, man. Yeah. That's awesome. That's a good story. Hey, that's why it's cliched, but things happen when they're meant to be.
Oh, yeah.
Well, man, let me tell people how to get a hold of you. You're doing a little project on SchoolU. That's SCOOLU.com.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any videos of you on your website?
Man, I don't think so.
I think
it's just pictures.
We need to get some videos. Yeah, man. People want to know who this guy is that's got the magic, and they want to hire you for tracks. You got to listen to you.
Oh, I can be bought.
Yeah, but they want to listen to the tracks, and then they're going to buy you.
Oh, now there's tracks on there.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Okay.
There's tracks.
So John Willis has been a first call session player in Nashville for almost 30 years. Let me just tell you where you could find him online. He's, as you heard, a hell of a nice guy. And it's Willis. I'm going to just spell it. Like, his last name is Willis, WILLISOUNDZ.com. So it's like WillieSounds.com, but ends in a Z. WILLISOUNDZ. And you can check out everything John's got going on there. He's doing tracking, producing. He'll drive your, he'll pick up guitars for you if it's within a half day parameter.
For a nominal fee.
He does it all, man. He'll get you off of reverb if you got a problem. This guy's multi-talented. Man, you're a very sweet guy, and I'm glad I got to connect with you. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. That was fun.
Likewise, man. Any final words of wisdom?
Really, somebody asked me once, how do you make it? And I said, well, if you can do what I did, move to Muscle Shoals and eat grits and hot dogs for 2 months and not mind, you're in the right business. But if you mind, you're in the wrong one.
There you go. It's funny. A lot of people, say, or I've talked to a lot of players, and they said, the biggest thing people say is, how do you get, how do I make it to Nashville? And the first thing they say is, well, first thing you got to do is move here.
Yeah, you got to move.
You can't make it to Nashville living in, Shamokin, Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
You got to actually get here and then worry about making it, So getting there is 90% of the battle. So, hey, man, thanks so much for your time, John. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
And I wish you good luck with your son and much continued success moving forward.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Thanks again to John Willis for spending time with us. I really appreciate it. And go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes and all the cool stuff we have going on there. Now, be nice, go play your guitar, and most important, have some fun, man. You only get one shot of this. Till next time, peace and love, and I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.